And we are back on the Chosen Life podcast, starting taping a little late because he was stuck in traffic. But when celebrities are coming, you wait. It was worth the wait because he's here. Comedian Scott Faulconbridge, still wearing the Expos hat. Love that hat.
Thank you.
Supporting. They may come back. You never know.
You never know.
And I'm the chosen lawyer, Jonathan Hacohen. Scott, any trouble getting over here today?
Just a little bit of construction. I actually got them to move a sign so I could get down Charity Street because they had blocked it off. And I said, look, I'm local. And they let me through. They were going to make me go around, but I overcame the detour.
For those of you watching in Europe, in the United States, we're filming here from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Don't know in your parts of the world how it is, but we basically live in construction 24/7.
24/7, yeah. That everything, most American major cities, Canadian major cities, it seems like they built everything 50 years ago, and now is the time that they have to rebuild everything right now.
So I heard a theory on this because, for example, you come from Montreal, right?
Yeah.
In Quebec, also in Canada. You guys are a little different over there, but you had a very advanced subway system, for example. So everybody takes the subway, you can get around there. In Toronto, the way they do it is they put up the condos, they build the houses, and they're like, oh yeah, we need roads. Oh yeah, we need sidewalks. Oh yeah, subway might be a good idea. Let's do it after the fact. Whereas cities, when they plan them, they put the infrastructure first. I took a course in university called City Lives and City Forms.
Right.
Also took one called Television Society. You need to take these electives in school to get marks. But I learned as far as City Lives, City Forms, as far as building infrastructure. So apparently Montreal's got something on us in Toronto.
Well, you might think so, but if you live in Montreal, what you quickly find out is they made a lot of very similar mistakes. They built an airport, a whole huge airport, thinking the city would grow in a certain direction, and it just never did. And I think now that it does private aircraft or something, but they built a huge airport and then decided, no, we'll go back to the original airport. So that I don't know, to me sounds like a lack of planning, at least on some part.
It sounds like when a government takes over for a government, they're like, okay, whatever they're doing, we'll do it different now just because.
Right.
Got a question about Quebec and cars. This has always fascinated me. So you're going to go buy a car, for example, and you get to report. So you're trying to see if there's any accidents, how often was the car maintained, etc. You see in the report, it comes from anywhere in Canada, no problem. It came from BC, it came from Alberta, okay. As soon as you see Quebec on there, yeah, no, I'm not buying the Quebec car. What is the deal with Quebec and cars? Any idea?
Honestly, I mean, there's this reputation that Quebec drivers drive really fast and therefore they're reckless.
Yes.
And, I don't know what the stats are, but I got to tell you, having lived in Montreal and lived in Toronto now for the past 10 years, I don't think Toronto has anything over Montreal when it comes to good drivers. I find Toronto drivers to be insane.
Or very slow.
Or very slow. And I come from Montreal. There's, for the most part, there are a few different rules that I think sort of scare Ontario people. You can turn a right on red. I don't even know if that's still true.
I think so.
Yeah. You do that
They
here.
won't put a sign. They'll just give you a ticket, but you have to kind of know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do it in Ontario, but in Quebec, they're like, whoa, no, we don't trust you to make that call. So there's a few different rules. For the most part, it's not that different.
My son has December 24th circled on his calendar because he's turning 18. We're going to Montreal because you turn 18, you can go have all sorts of debauchery, whereas you can't do that in Toronto.
Yeah.
So I think, Quebec has that going for it, certainly. I can imagine how people come from the States, like, oh, legal age is 18. I can go drinking, I can go smoking, whatever.
Right.
It's funny how that kind of works, how that 1 year makes such a difference for people.
Right. All the vaudeville theaters of the 40s are strip clubs in Montreal. That's kind of what they got turned into.
Well, you can give me the addresses later. I'll send it over to him, and I'll stay at the hotel and watch Cinemax, and he can.
You won't have any trouble finding them. I promise you that. I used to have strippers come to. They would come to always the Sunday show in Montreal for some reason.
Yes.
I guess that was their night off, and a stripper I remember once said to me, "I could never do what you do," which. I guess we all have our own fears.
Your reaction was touche.
I was like, fair enough. I could never do what you do.
So you find you have a big stripper audience market. That's the Scott Faulconbridge.
On
team?
the Sundays, we all did like that. That was the night they went out for whatever reason.
So, folks, you ever want to go pick up a stripper? I guess you go to a comedy show on a Sunday in Quebec, and best of luck.
That's
to
where
you.
they hang out for sure.
Interesting. I learned something very new today.
There you go.
There you go. Besides being a comedian, you are good for life advice.
I do my best.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we got the website going, right? Two of them actually. We got scottyontour.com, which is talking about the 2024 tour coming up, and scottfalconbridge.com. You got merch, first of all.
Yeah, we just started putting up merch.
Yes.
I should have brought my coffee cup.
Well, everybody, when your mug is plastered on the mug, you know you made it, right?
Right.
Yes.
But yeah, on scottfalconbridge.com, I have merch. I have my latest CD, and of course, the new show, Falconbridge is Falling Down.
Falconbridge is falling down, falling down, falling down.
Yeah, we do have a theme song, and we did update it from that.
Don't know if you can beat the original, but I'm very excited about it. So tell me, how did the show come about? My guess is this: you were on Yuck Yucks, or you were on stage somewhere. Maybe you were at a big festival, and the executives came with the suits. They have the briefcases. They said, I like the cut of you. I like the gist of you.
Right.
We want a piece of the action."
Yeah, it was nothing like that. So what it was actually, it was born out of the pandemic. I was sitting around.
Something good came out of the pandemic.
There were, I think that's when a lot of us were tested.
Yes.
I think that's fair to say.
Yes.
And comedy was it was a hard thing to do during the pandemic. You had shows like Zoom shows where you could, literally get heckled by someone who's not even in the room. Shows. I did TV tapings where there was no one in the theater, and they put dolls in the front rows, and I remember a cameraman going up to one of the dolls to pull a string that said "I love you" after one of my jokes, because there's no laughter. Things like that. That's the kind of thing we were dealing with.
Sounds very inspiring to me.
Yeah, it was inspiring you to do something else. But then I started making a lot of videos, and I came up with the idea. I did a Zoom show for a little while, and then put together some sketches, and I pitched Bell. And so it came out of me, working harder to do something. It's really, your slowest times are when you should be the most productive. And that's that definitely paid out for me.
So how does it go as far as the pitching goes? So you come on the board again. I'm having this visualization. So you got the boardroom,
Yeah.
and you got the suits. All the executives are there.
Right.
Everybody's in their suits. They put you in the middle. It's like Dragon's Den, and you're telling your jokes and talking, and they're like, "Yes, that is very funny."
Right.
And was it like that?
Again, nothing like that. Nothing like
I'm
that.
so far off.
It was actually done on Zoom
Oh, God.
because you couldn't escape doing things on Zoom. And basically, I pitched them the show.
Yeah.
I had a partner, a girl named Ashley Sloggett, who she had a background in producing TV, and she's a big punk rocker and does a lot of stuff. She's great.
Not Schuster's son from Wayne and Schuster.
What's that?
Not Schuster's son.
No, there was no Wayne and Schuster.
No
I've
Wayne
moved on from my Wayne and Schuster days.
I'm still stuck in 1970s. Sorry, but for any of you who got that reference, it's very funny. But continue.
And we pitched the show. It was like a conversation, not unlike what we're having right now. Pretty easygoing. They had seen my comedy. I think that was a factor. After we told them what we wanted to do, they said to us, do you have anything to add? Do you have any questions? And I got to use that line I've always wanted to use. I said, yeah, when do I start? And they laughed, and pretty soon I was working on the show.
What's the feeling? You've been in movies, you've done tours, you've been on TV. knowing that there's going to be now a show based on your sketches, like when they give you the green light, like how can you describe that feeling?
Yeah, I just felt really like pumped up. Like it's just a sort of like euphoria. It's a contained euphoria because you also
Like having a Jeffrey. I don't know if you ever saw that movie with Russell Brand where he combines like cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, everything
right.
in one big thing, and he calls it, I'm gonna smoke a Jeffrey, and he goes ballistic and out of the bonkers out of this world. So it's like smoking a Jeffrey. Is that like that?
Well, here's the thing: is that if you go that crazy
Yes.
and you're dealing with Canadian funding, you're not going to you're going to make 20% of what you want to make. Like yeah, that's why I say it's like contained. Like we had money enough to get it done. We had to kind of like, make smart decisions, and we were constantly challenging ourselves with like what we could get out of what we had. I'm very happy with what we had, but you really had, if you wanted to make something worthwhile, you had to check yourself a little bit.
This sounds very inspiring to me, honestly, because just the thought of having a TV show and being able to put this together and taking life's work and doing it, I'm very inspired. I feel so much joy for you, knowing that you get to do this. I know people watching are very excited. Where are they able to watch it? When is the programming? Tell us about the schedule for it.
Sure. So it's currently available on Bell 5 TV. So you would have to have a Bell subscription, cable subscription,
Yes.
to see it. But in a very short time, by the end of the year, it's going to be available on our own YouTube channel, and it'll be Faulconbridge is Falling Down. The handle will be at FFD 2023, and we'll be releasing a sketch a week and building up our YouTube channel with the same footage we used to make the TV show.
Amazing. Now, I've been very curious on when you come up with a name for shows. So how did you come about with this name? Where did it hit you? How did that work?
Ashley and I brainstormed a bunch of names, and for some reason that was the one that stuck. There was just something about the name. It's loosely based on the idea that when I was in high school, I played basketball, and my father was a principal of a school that I would have to play. And so when I would go there and they would see my name, I obviously had the same last name.
Yes.
They, like in the stands at a high school basketball game, they would start to chant "Faulconbridge is Falling Down," the song, and they would sing it every time I got the ball, and that was that kind of trauma that inspired me to use the name for the show.
Is that something you worked through in therapy over a number of years, or how did that go?
You know what? I'm not gonna deny I've done some therapy,
Yes.
but I always found it really funny, to be honest. I just, that's the one thing as a comedian, I've never taken myself too seriously. Often when bad things happen, I kind of laugh at it because I find I find it's just a much better way to get through life. And even then, I remember like it was funny, I mean, it was embarrassing, and it caused me to like lose the ball a lot, and my shot was off. But even I got off the floor, and the coach went, "Yeah, that was funny." Like like my own team was laughing.
Well, it set you up for the future. You knew that you're gonna be able to get laughs out of people, and that's the day. The world needs more laughter. What was that expression? The world needs more clowns.
So that's the one thing I am not. Comics are never clowns. It's a very deep division. Gang wars have been fought over it. Clowns versus comics. Clowns are very, very different. First of all, they do makeup. This is no makeup, right?
Maybe I can't tell. If it's a good job, I wouldn't be able to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, I don't. They have cars that I wouldn't drive, and I don't do kids' birthday parties.
Have you ever seen the show Arrested Development?
Yes.
You remember Job the magician?
I'm sorry. I guess I missed an episode or two.
So he was the brother. There was a father, and he was built poorly constructed homes, and the one brother is trying to fix the family,
Right.
and while everybody else is doing their own thing. And one of them was one of the brothers, and his name was Job, and he was a magician. But when you come to him and you tell him, "Oh, you're the magician," he goes, "I'm an illusionist. Tricks are for whores." That was
I
his
love
line.
that.
I knew you'd appreciate that. And there was a whole line between the whole magician illusionist thing.
Right.
Sounds like comedians and clowns. I had no idea that was a thing.
Well, I've always been fascinated by mentalists. You know, like because first of all, they give themselves names like the amazing Jonathan or whatever it is,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like they. So it just it's such balls to like give yourself a name. I've seen some really good ones, and I've seen some really bad ones, and they always made when I would perform with one, I'd be watching everything they do, and over time I figured out that they have their tricks, and some of them do it really well, some of them do not, you know, and the ones that do not are hysterical.
But the ones that do really well, they're quasi comedians in how they're doing it. They're cracking jokes the whole time as they're doing it.
Right.
Tell me, think of a number right now between 1 and 30, but don't tell me that number. And all of a sudden they'll pull up a card. See, 3 of spades.
Sure.
I knew you thought of 3. How would they know this? You know?
Right. I don't know. Like I said, the ones that do it well are amazing. A buddy of mine is a world famous magician. He's a comic, and he does like I guess sleight of hand stuff, and he performs in big magician venues, and he does comedy, and he combines both. His name is David Acker from Montreal, and he's very talented and very funny. I once saw a mentalist end their show by telling the audience that they were going to, if they wanted to quit smoking, all they had to do was to listen to the sound of their voice. And if they listened to the sound of his voice for the next 1 minute, when they walked out of the club, they would have conquered smoking, quit the habit. So he does this like little spiel. He had a deep voice. You know, you'll never feel the urge again. Does everything, and then the show. That's how he ends his show,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then as the audience files out without a hint of irony,
Yes.
he was, I guess, tired from the show. He would go and he would hang out at the door as they file out. And he was, oh, that was a tough show. And he pulls out a pack of cigarettes. He starts like, oh God, these shows are killing me. And he's like, without even realizing what and people are filing out going, didn't he just try to like get rid of everyone's smoking habit? And he's literally smoking as they walked out. So when you see things like that, you know, it's kind of beautiful.
If you find this man in the future, please bring him to one of our episodes when we shoot. This would be a lot of fun.
I could set that up, by the way.
And you and I could be talking to him and call him out on that. Maybe it'll be kind of an intervention.
Right.
I feel really bad, though, because I was going to pitch you an idea of doing a tour where we're going to have comedians, clowns, magicians, and illusionists.
Right.
And my utopia where we're going to finally bring everybody together. But there's too much divide, I take it. It's not going to happen.
There is a lot of division. I will tell you, I did a fundraiser once, and there was a clown on before me. It was for a children's hospital, right?
Yes.
And I started making fun of the clown when I got up.
Yep.
And this girl was a great clown. Like she stood up, you know, like as if she was very upset. And every time I said something, she did like physical things, complete mime. Like we had this argument back and forth, like comic talk versus clown talk. And at the end, she took the giant check that we were like contributing to raise money. She took the giant check and she tucked it under her arm and she walked out as I made fun of her, and she just played along. And you know, there are a couple clowns, in my opinion, that break the mold.
Okay, so on Falconbridge falling down,
Yeah.
I have a great idea for a sketch. Then we're gonna do. We're gonna make a sketch, and we're gonna call it Clowns versus Comics.
Clowns versus comics.
And that, and yeah, and but like it's kind of like a turf war, like an East West Coast thing. And yo, this is clown territory, dude. You don't gonna tell no jokes here. And we kind of make that kind of thing.
I would totally be into it if it wasn't for the pretty famous Bob Goldthwait movie. Have you ever seen? He did a movie.
He's done so many great movies.
Yeah, this is one he wrote and directed, and it's pretty much what you just talked about. That's the thing with anything like sketches. Like there's so many things that have been done.
I had the idea. So my two greatest claims to fame.
Yeah.
When I was about 7, I had the idea that if we should do a sport where we combine ping pong and tennis, because I love ping pong and tennis.
Okay, ping pong. Okay.
And when I saw that pickleball was around, I'm like, oh man, I thought of pickleball. This was a genius idea. I figured it out at 7 years old. I was a man ahead of my time. Except the pickleball was invented, I think, in the 30s or 40s. So there goes that idea.
Well, you know what? It all comes down to the actual doing, right? Because like anyone can come up with an idea. People have come to me all the time and say, I've got this idea. How about you write it and then we'll split it 50-50? And I'm always like, I got a better idea. Why don't you try to write your idea? And if you can't, then you can hire me to write your idea. And you can own it, but you have to pay, because the hard part is the writing of the idea. That's the hard part. That execute it in a way where, you know, it's funny, where everything works. Coming up with the idea is not 50% of the work. Coming up with the idea is just the beginning. And it's something a lot of people don't really understand.
I'm going to pause here for today's episode because you somehow telepathically read my mind. Because we're going to jump into another spectrum next week. We're going to talk about this idea of everybody having the $1 million idea and doing nothing with it.
Right.
And we're going to teach them how we're going to actually effectively do that.
Okay.
You're going to be shocked of where we segued this. You're going to be quite impressed with me, actually.
I'm shocked already.
Stay tuned. This is the Chosen Life podcast with comedian Scott Faulconbridge and non-funny guy Jonathan Hacohen. We'll see you all back real soon.